How's it going, everyone? Jacob Rothenberg here, Senior SDR at Drata, one of the greatest SDRs in the world right now, possibly the greatest to ever exist. And what I'd like to talk about today is the common debate that I see on LinkedIn and other avenues of social media with the whole debate around the sales development role with what works best. Quality versus quantity, meaning should I work the most leads to hit quota most effectively, or should I work on my conversion rate and try to maximize my conversion rate with the amount of leads that I'm working? I'm going to give the short answer, so you can skip out of this video if you want immediately, or give you the long answer which explains everything. The short answer, if you're just trying to hit quota, either one works. Any approach that you take, whether it's focusing on a decent quantity along with a decent conversion rate, as long as you're putting in the work and you have the best of both worlds to a degree, you're gonna do okay. Now, the long answer, and this is where influencer minds will explode. Everyone on LinkedIn has this whole notion that if you have a 90% efficiency rate and it's not 100, all of a sudden you're inferior to someone that can have a 100% conversion rate with 2 leads. Right? So the truth is, guys, and again, hey, who's living the good life here? As an SDR, I'm not even an AE yet. I'm an SDR, and I'm telling you from my own empirical experience and what I've seen work best for others, if you are wanting to achieve the highest amount of meetings possible set, if you're trying to achieve the highest amount of qualified leads set, if you're trying to set the highest paychecks possible, not these freaking $2,000, $3,000 paychecks, we're talking 5 figures. We're talking paychecks that start with a 2 or a 3, and it's not going to be a 4-figure check. What you need to do is utilize quantity with a decent conversion rate. Let me explain. Think about it this way. What's going to yield you more net meetings? Just sheer net meetings. 50% of 10 prospects qualifying into a meeting, or 10% of 1,000. So let me repeat myself for those of you who are going to have this epiphany. Do you want to, if we're talking about setting the most meetings possible, just purely A or B, 50% of 10 or 10% of 1,000? Now, 50% of 10 is going to be 5. 10% of 1,000 is going to be 100. So even with a, these are all just made up numbers, but with a theoretically low conversion rate, you're still going to be setting way more meetings than someone with a higher conversion rate that has fewer leads in the pipeline being actively worked. So again, there's no absolutes to this, but what you want to do if you're really wanting to genuinely be a top performer is theoretically work the most possible contacts and number of accounts that you can, ethically within your account, within your territory's rules or your role's rules. So if you have unlimited territory, work as many accounts as you can in spite of possible hard limits that you might have, like the Gmail send rate, HubSpot, Salesforce, with your CRM having a throttle on your email. Likewise, if you are working with a limited territory, you want to be able to actively work and sequence as many or as much of your territory as possible and not have anything inactive. Once you have that in place, yes, of course, conversion rate still matters. You want to be able to have a conversion rate to where, if you are working 1,000 leads, you can double your results by taking a 2% conversion rate to 4%. Now, what will translate exactly to a better conversion rate? Because we can usually understand how to work more leads, right? You just work more leads, that's simple. But what does it take to increase conversion rate? There's a few things, and it's not exactly what the influencers on LinkedIn are gonna explain to you in their one sentence by one line little post. So what it takes usually is, number one, yes, personalization matters very much, especially if you're working a dedicated pool of accounts where you're only going to have a finite amount of accounts to work, and that's going to be it. Of course, personalization makes the most sense to where you're going to be drawing context from many variables possible, whether it's something you notice on a website, someone's job description, pains that they might have that you can call out, things you see on their LinkedIn, okay? You don't need to go to the freaking extent of knowing someone's favorite Pokemon from the 5th grade from their Facebook profile. Like, I don't really know where people come up with that stuff on LinkedIn. I know it sounds fancy and it's super cool to be hyper personalized, but when it comes to the actual practice day to day with the SDR role, you're going to just want to make a somewhat slight compromise to where you want a good personalization degree and like a good conversion rate, but there's a lot of diminishing returns. Like if you can get a 4 or 5% conversion rate, going maybe to 6% is achievable, but trying to shoot for a 15% conversion rate in the SDR world, if you're just going purely outbound cold, it's probably not going to happen. So again, what you want to do is focus on volume. And I know I'm going to get smited for this by someone that's going to disagree with me, but hey, just follow along. Go for the highest amount of pipeline that you can work and still, do your job with task management. Make sure you're not stalling your sequences with HubSpot, with Outreach, with SalesLoft, whatever tool you're using to manage your cadences. Make sure that you're still able to move those along on time because you don't want to interrupt your steps. And along with that, once you are working a decent volume, I would say along with that, be able to also focus on increasing your conversion rate with, what I've just mentioned, just increasing your skill set with being able to craft a good email, do your call task, actually leave a voicemail, actually do the cold call. Don't just go, hello, oh, I'm scared, like hang up. No, actually make the dial, do your best to use someone's mobile number and get that conversation held. That in of itself, along with just leaving a voicemail, it's hard science. It's going to increase your conversion rate. So, yeah, I've just seen it to where I'll just pull from my own personal experience. I'm someone who has, and this is just fact, it's law, that I do have a very high conversion rate, meeting set rate when I pick up the phone and dial. That said, I also have a relatively low dial volume. So yeah, it is fact that when I pick up the phone, not just hold a conversation, but when I just pick up the phone, I have a 10% chance, 10% probability from picking up the phone to setting a meeting. Just the way that the law of probabilities work, it's a science to where I know if I pick up the phone, 1 out of 10, a meeting gets set. Now, if I'm only making 50 dials a week, I'm only setting 5 meetings a week, which is still decent if I'm in an email heavy role. But if I were to maybe perhaps instead, if I had like some freaking quadruple espresso binge, do 1,000 calls a week, and people do that too, 1,000 calls a week and have a 5% conversion rate out of 1,000 dials, that's still gonna be somewhat substantial. So yeah, volume will win. And yes, there are, again, this is a nuanced topic. I could make a whole freaking course on this. A 10-minute video is not going to cut it. But with the law of diminishing returns and your personal bandwidth, you only have 24 hours a day to exist. You probably only work 8 hours a day, maybe 6, maybe 10, maybe 4. Maybe you don't even work. But you're going to have a finite amount of activities you can run during your prospecting block and your task management blocks to where you have to figure out, okay, what's going to be more efficient for me? Just trying to focus on squeezing all the juice out of a little lemon or squeezing a little juice out of a gigantic lemon. And with your role, you're going to have to figure that out with just doing the math. Like if you haven't watched Moneyball with Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill, I love the movie Moneyball. I love reverse engineering analytics and figuring out what's going to get me the results that I want. If you can compute, okay, I need to set 30 meetings in a month, or I want to set 30 meetings in a month. I need to prospect on average 1,000 contacts within that month and have a 3% conversion rate to get there. Well, now you know what you need to do. You need to, number one, prospect the 1,000 accounts, and then number two, figure out how to make that 3% conversion rate happen. So that might mean looking at the month back, the month prior, and say, hey, I noticed that I only had a 2.5% conversion rate. What do I need to do to get that 3%? What pinpoints can I make in my game to hit that increase in my conversion rate? And it's honestly going to come down to personalization, being tidy with your task management, and doing all the steps in your sequences. So whether that's multi-channel outreach, phone, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever the case may be, do that, and you should see results. Now, from my, again, last point I want to make, if you're going for the absolute highest amount of meetings set, if you want to max out your paycheck, quantity is going to win. Just how it works. I know it's not the pretty answer. I know people don't like the notion of, shotgunning, so to speak. But from what I've seen overall, and what I've done too, is that if you're able to work an inhumane amount of pipeline, still be able to manage the tasks associated with it, and also have a decent-ish conversion rate, you're probably going to set the most meetings in your team and make the most money, assuming that that's how your comp plan works, and that's going to qualify into leads that show up. So that's a whole other topic too, with being able to do that. That just really means working your ass off, and that's not something a video is going to really help you to do unless you need a motivational speech to do that kind of thing. So the SDR role is really a matter essentially of working your ass off, being strategic, and sticking to a plan while being consistent with it. So if you can be able to develop a plan, strategize how to make your plan happen, and execute it properly, you're going to see results with whatever goals that you have. Guys, let me know what you think about this video. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a dislike. I probably won't even see it. Let me know what videos you want to see. And likewise, I got to keep working, and I'll see you later. Take care.